actress who plays his grandma, Yuh-Jung Youn, the actress who plays Micah, Yeri Han, and the actor who plays Jacob, Steven Yeun. Thank you guys all for making time to be here today. And I want to dive right into this, first of all, with Isaac. Thank you for sharing this story with all of us. And it's your fourth film. And I wondered what, at this point, was it that made you want to sort of use your family's story as the inspiration, if not the exact basis for a film? Was there something that that triggered you to do it now on your fourth film?
Yeah, I think in the back of my mind, this is a story that I wanted to tell from the beginning. When I was getting into film, I knew that this is something that I would have to do at some point. And I think the time seemed opportune to do it because I wasn't sure if I'd get another chance to make a film. And so that was something that was weighing on me. And I was thinking, I really want to tell this story finally. And some other things were happening, like my wife and I, we had a child in 2013, and she was starting to become the age that I was when I moved to Arkansas with my family. And I felt like I could see through her eyes a little bit more. And I could also understand maybe what my dad was going through at that time and what my mom was going through. So these things all kind of converge to just being a time to sit down with pen and paper and to work out the memories. I had read this. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I didn't mean to. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm completely rambling at this point. But yeah,
no,
no.
Well, I just I just want to prompt you to share because I was amazed to read. It really started with writing down certain visual memories. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, I was really inspired reading this. First of all, I read this book called My Antonia by Willa Cather, and she writes about it's a fictional story, but it's a little bit based on her growing up in Nebraska on a farm. And I read a quote from her in which she said that her work really started, or her life really started, when she stopped admiring and started remembering. So as a creative process, I just thought that was fascinating. And I just started to, as an exercise, really just write down all these memories. And once I had all these memories down, I had about 80, I could see how I could shape them and move them around and create a story that kind of is there for every single character in the story. So for every family member, that there would be some kind of story there. So that's how it started.
Yeah. Steven, can you share how the script first came to your attention and how it connected to your own family's journey to America? I think both of these backstories are fascinating. So if you can let us know.
Yeah. Kind of so strange and beautiful, and kind of maybe the messaging of the whole film itself, or the journey of the film itself. But I was given this script by Christina Chow, who was my agent at the time, or still my new agent. And she was like, this is funny, but like, she was like, "Hey, we represent your cousin." And I was like, "Who's my cousin?" And she's like, "Isaac." And I was so confused because that's my wife's cousin. And I had only met Isaac maybe like once or twice in our lives. And it was so kismet that those worlds merged like that. And, you know, we never talked about working together. We never even really talked about film. We never had a chance to like come together that way. And this script just gets given to me. And, you know, with scripts about the history or maybe identity or who we are as Korean Americans, it's not that I don't like them or don't want to do them. It's that sometimes, you know, you read through those things, and sometimes they're not as deep as what Isaac wrote. And he wrote something so deeply truthful that I just had to be a part of it. And it just kind of took off from there. It went even as far as me petitioning Isaac to change it so that I didn't play the father, because I was so scared of playing Jacob. I was like, do you think you could make it half in the future and half in the past, and I could play the son? Sorry, Alan. But I almost took his beautiful role. But Isaac intelligently was and beautifully was just like, I think you can do this. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, it was really encouraging, and we kind of embarked on the journey, and now here we are. What a crazy ride.
And I just want to note that while your family did not end up in Arkansas, you also ended up in the middle of nowhere in a sense, from what you've described. If you want to just share how
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we immigrated to Canada first in Saskatchewan, and then made our way down to Michigan, and really was just really isolated. We had our cousins, which were wonderful, Mike and Grace, and Dan and John. We had extended family that we kind of could attach to, but beyond that, we were just kind of thriving in the middle of nowhere. I was 5, my brother was 3, and I kind of got uprooted from this place that I really knew. And I feel like, you know, I look in pictures and I think I really loved, which was in Pongcheondong in Seoul, and then just got brought to Michigan. And the shock of that, I really resonated with, which is just to be put, you know, just in the middle of nowhere, taken from all the safety that you know.
So, Alan, I would love to come to you now and talk about the fact that you are so good in this movie, and yet I was reading. Let's just say, correct me if any of this is wrong. You're in 2nd grade. You had not acted before, really, certainly in a movie. How did you wind up? You picked you. It worked out pretty well here. You didn't just wind up in any movie. This is a great movie.
Well, one thing's for sure, that was my first movie, but in 3rd grade, not
You're in 3rd. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I know that's a big difference.
It's a big difference.
Absolutely. And Alan, so you were, you know, I was hearing that you're big into math and science, but is acting something that you've also done in school, or do you do it on the side? How did you wind up with a meeting with a casting director?
Well, my sister usually just does musicals, so I just watched her and follow, I guess.
And who's Julie Kim? Is that the person who connected you to Isaac?
I think so.
The casting director? Yeah, it's hard to keep. There's a lot of people that work on movies, but
Yeah.
I guess let's ask Alan to jump. Excuse me, let's ask Isaac to jump in here as well. How did you find Alan? He's a real discovery.
Yeah, we do have Julia Kim, who is an incredible casting director. She threw a wide net out there, and we both talked before casting that we knew we needed to be open to people who have not acted before. And so she really tracked down kids in churches and Korean schools and, you know, all different places where you would find someone like Alan who is bilingual. But we're really fortunate to find Alan. His sister, she acts in musicals and she's incredibly talented. And then Alan has also done some photo shoots, so he knows what that world is like being on a set. And his parents are incredibly dedicated and helpful. So yeah, it was just great. They sent in an audition. Alan was the youngest to send in an audition, and he was the one who I just kept wanting to watch every night after I get back from casting sessions and stuff. I just kept wanting to turn on his video, and my wife would also request that we watch Alan Kim. And there's something so magnetic about him and his face and the way he puts things that we just knew that it would work out great. He came down to LA and did an audition with Steven, and that was lots of fun as well. And they had clear chemistry together, so we knew it was going to be special.
And I just want to know, Alan, I think the actress, young lady who plays your sister, your older sister also has a younger brother, so that was a easy, fun relationship to be able to spend time with her.
Yeah, but at the same time, we always just acted like normal brother and sister off stage and on stage. And sometimes we would watch Captain Underpants.
Well, that's cool, and we're going to talk more about some of your scenes. But I want to go to Yuh-Jung. You are, if this is Alan's first movie, you are the polar opposite. You're coming up on your 50th anniversary of your first role, which made you a star this coming year, I believe, 2021. And I think that in the time since then, people in the States who don't know should know you've made something like 80 movies. You're the Meryl Streep of Korea, although I think maybe she's the Yuh-Jung Youn of America.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, but I mean, I want to ask you. It took a while before you ended up in a movie that is, technically, I guess, it's as much an American production as a Korean production. So tell me about what, after all these years, what attracted you to this project?
Okay, my career is more than 50 years, and I didn't count my movie, how many movie I made or how many television program I made before. I'm that old, and I'm not Meryl Streep in Korea. I am just Youn Yuh-jung. And my mutual friend one day brought the script for me. It was written by English. My English is not perfect, so I was reading it. Middle of the reading, and probably after 30 pages or so, I called her back. Is it real story? Isn't it? And she said yes. So I said, I'll do it, because to me it was very realistic. It has every detail. It's convinced me to do it. This is the true story. So that's what happened. Then I was expecting, glamorous Hollywood things or something like that. No, it wasn't. We end up in the Tulsa somewhere, and with the heat, and the weather was terrible. But anyway, we survived, and then I didn't expect me being on like this. I was just doing the film. That was just my job. I thought maybe I can do it with some young generation in the state. And happened to be, I met Isaac, and I was very impressed by him, the way he directed Alan and me and everybody. He was very calm. He's in the middle of the mess. He was very calm and patient with everybody. So actually, I respected him. So, okay, I'll do my job. If I finish my job, I will leave the Tulsa. We didn't have much help because we need to have a translator, professional translator, everybody, but wasn't there, not enough for us. So because of all the money. Then I had friends was visiting Korea just to see how I'm doing it, and she ended up to be translator and coaching dialect to Steven, and we all became a family because we don't want to go hotel. We were borrowing with the Airbnb. We were staying at the Airbnb together, Yeri and me. It's like a dormitory. And Steven was staying hotel, but he found it out later. He was coming to washing his clothes, and then we had a great meal. He found it out, so he stuck with us. So we really became a family. So I think when we first got the ensemble award somewhere, so I told my friends who introduced Isaac, I said, well, they know the truth because we are ensemble, must be really good because we really became a family.
That's great. And Isaac, I want to ask you about directing Yuh-Jung. I mean, this must be, she's somebody that when you've taught film, which you've done, you've taught her work. So to now be directing her, that must have been surreal.
It was surreal. I would say she made it very easy. Like, she was so humble. She's so, you can tell now, so down to earth, and just made the job for me very easy. And I think I'm just fortunate to have worked with her. Whatever project she works on, she's going to make the film so much better. So yeah, that all I can say is, yeah, thank you. It was an amazing experience.
So, Yeti, you are an award-winning actress yourself, and I am excited to ask you about, you know, you wind up here with a playing a character who's got a husband who she's got some issues with. She's got 2 kids. You guys, it feels like a very real family. So I'm wondering, did you guys have time to get to really know each other? I know that we just heard a little bit about the Airbnb, but I was thinking it must have, I hope that you weren't, just because of budget or whatever, just thrown into the start of it, because well, if you, either way, it's incredible what a convincing job you all did. But I just wonder if you can talk about how you prepared.
일단 감독님께서 스크립을 주고 감독님을 만났을 때 제가 뭔가 아는 모니카의 얘기라든지 아니면 그 시대 때 나의 엄마 아빠에 대한 얘기들을 할 때 너무 잘 알고 있었어요.
So when Isaac first gave me the script and we met to talk about this film, the story of Monica and the parents who lived through those generations, their stories was something that I was very familiar with.
우리가 잘 알지는 못하지만, 감독님과 제가 잘 알지는 못하지만 되게 대화가 잘 통한다고 생각을 했고, 이 영화를 할 때 뭔가 좀 더 소통하기 오히려 쉬울 수도 있다는 생각을 했었고.
So of course we can't ever fully understand their stories, but when we were talking, I felt that it was very easy to communicate with Isaac. So I knew that this process would be smooth in terms of communication.
그러고 미국에 갔는데 이제 스티븐도 너무 정말 제이콥이 되어 있었고, 제이콥으로 가는 과정을 우리가 함께 만들어가고, 저 또한 모니카로 가는 과정을 모든 가족들이 다 같이 만들어간다고 생각을 했어요.
And when I arrived in the States and met Steven, I felt like he was already Jacob, and we together created and went through the process of all of us becoming our characters. We built this family and our own characters together.
그리고 선생님께서 얘기하셨던 것처럼 환경은 조금 열악했지만 같이 모여서 뭔가 정말 밥 먹고 계속 영화에 대해서 얘기하고, 그날 끝난 어떤 시간들을 다시 정리해보고, 그리고 다시 내일을 위해서 우리가 뭔가를 할 수 있는 것들에 대해서 얘기하는 그 시간들이 너무 우리가 정말 가족처럼 보이게 할 수 있었던 힘이었던 것 같아요.
And as Yuh-Jung mentioned, you know, we weren't in the best of conditions, but we were able to spend a lot of time together, just sharing meals, talking about the film, and reflecting on the shooting day we had, and thinking about what we could do tomorrow. And I think those times that we shared together was what allowed us to seem like a real family.
Yeah.
Also, for a lot of the movie, you guys didn't have very far that you could go, because you actually shot this it's not a fake set that's made to look like a trailer. You were in a very tight trailer, right? Maybe Isaac, can you share a little bit about just the decision to really put everybody in a trailer?
Well, we first of all, it was, I don't know if we had the budget to build out a trailer set. When we got to the location, our line producer was watching TV from the hotel, and there was a commercial that said, you know, you want to use trailer home, come on down. We have $1,000 trailers on liquidation or whatever. So yeah, we went over there, and our production designer, Young and cinematographer Lachlan, we all went there with producers and just checked out all these homes that were built in the 1970s and 80s. And for me, it was a trip, because you know, I grew up in a house like that, built in the early 1980s, and they haven't really changed. So to go in and see the layout and all those things, like we definitely needed to preserve that look and feeling, and no better way than to actually buy a trailer home that was still around since the early 1980s.
You know, this just makes me want to ask a quick aside. Was Mountain Dew really a big part of your childhood as well, or was that just added on?
Yeah, so when we moved to Arkansas, I remember in our garage, we just had crates of Mountain Dew for a couple years. And I would say, you know, why do we drink so much of this? And my dad said, you know, this is water from the mountains. And then I remember at one point that went away. So my parents figured it out, and they realized this is really terrible for us. And it was only like when I was maybe 15 years old that my sister and we would talk about, did that really happen? and you know, my parents admitted.
Isaac, I asked him, actually, did you really give her the 2p? And then he said yes. So I said, wow, you were so mean. When I met him, he was very gentle, sincere man. And wow, you really give to her? And he said, yes. You never know the people.
That was supposed to be a secret between us. Yeah.
Well, let me come to Yeti and Steven about one other thing, and Alan, who's having a good laugh about that. So Yeti and Steven, acting with children in movie history, people have, you know, they've made jokes. There are things that you should never do. Don't act with children and don't act with animals. That's W.C. Fields, I think. But yet, here you are with two very talented children, but we're here with Alan now. I just wonder, what was your experience? Is there a way that you found was most effective to kind of prepare and do your scenes with the kids? Yeti, if you want to go first.
일단 너무 저보다 연기를 더 잘하는 두 아이들이어서 어려운 거는 정말 없었고, 많이 생각했어요. 엄마가 내가 어렸을 때 어떻게 했었지에 대한 생각들을 되게 많이 했던 것 같아요.
First of all, the two actors, they're way better than I am, so it wasn't difficult at all. But I really had to think a lot about how to approach this, and I thought a lot about how my mother treated me when I was little.
그리고 이제 감독님께서 어쨌건 아이들과 있을 때는 시간을 효율적으로 쓰려고 되게 많이 노력을 해줬고, 그런 부분들이 오히려 모니카를 연기할 때도 더 집중도 있게 연기할 수 있게 해준 것 같아요.
And also, Isaac put a lot of effort into making sure that shooting was efficient when we were working with Alan and Noel. So I think that allowed me to really be more focused with my performances.
네, 알렌하고 노엘은 프로예요.
Alan and Noel are professionals.
And before we go to Steven, I just want to note for our viewers, you are getting to witness in action the world's most famous translator. Sharon is so good, and she was if you go back and watch, get in there for a second, Sharon, wave. Yeah. If you don't, it might take you a second, but if you watch this last Oscars just a few months ago, Sharon was on stage more than any other person in the in the whole show. So good to see you, Sharon. Okay, Steven. So let's talk about you. Could you have played this part as well as you did had you yourself not recently become a father?
I suppose I don't know the answer to that. I can say that I'm very glad that I am one, so that I could access something grounded and true in my life. And I guess kind of to like wrangle it back to what Yeti was saying too, the Alan and Noel were really, now that I think about it, they might have been maybe the catalyst for a real present type of immersive acting experience. They were so pure in the way that they were, and so truthful in the way that they were, and in the way that they reacted, that it kind of forced all of us to stay in and never really break from the family. And so, you know, I remember that experience. I really don't know if I ever exited Jacob when I was on set, mostly because, you know, you're thinking about, for me, I was thinking about how I talk to my own son and my own daughter. And then further, I was also thinking about how I was spoken to. And then I was also thinking about just preserving the presence of the moment, just trying to stay really present in that moment. And for the sake of the film, but also, you know, when Alan first auditioned, we kind of just improvised some things together. I remember I left the room after we ran some lines, and I decided to come back in as Jacob, and then just kind of just like wear that mood in the room. And I was talking to him about, I actually don't remember what I was talking to you about, Alan, but he just went in right with me. I just started talking to him as Jacob, and he was right there responding in the moment, super pure. And that's when we knew, I think, that he was so wonderful for David. But then on set, it was really just like fluid that way. As long as we kept to all preserve that truth, I think Alan and Noel were also game to play that game too. So we just held it all together. It was really great. Yeah.
Alan, I want to ask you, to be working with Yeri and Steven and Yuh-Jung, you know, these are people that have been doing this a long time. Were you able to learn some things about acting from them?
Oh.
So honest.
Come on, you really? There must be some. How about those scenes when you're in the bedroom with your grandma, and you know, that's not easy, those scenes. You must have gotten some advice along the way from, I know Isaac also probably was very helpful with that, but what do you remember the most about, is there one thing, like if you go and make another movie, maybe you already have for all I know, but if for your next movie, anything that you're going to bring from this experience to the next project?
One thing's for sure, never give up.
That's a good answer. That's good. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. That's important with movies. Yeah.
There you go.
So I want to ask, actually, Yuh-Jung, if you can talk about what you found as somebody with a lot of experience doing this. What did you find to be the most challenging aspect of your performance? You're doing so many different things in one movie, the comedy and the craziness, but also, you know, the stuff after the stroke, and I have so many scenes that I'm not gonna forget, between the church donations and all that. But I guess what for you was also, by the way, of course, the with the fire, it's haunting to think about. So what did you find the most challenging?
Well, nowadays I'm meeting new people, because usually when I was young, I was so ambitious. Okay, I'll go this role for my fame or for money or something like that. But nowadays, if I meet the new people and which I can respect or I can trust, if I can find some truthfulness from him, that was him. So that was very just challenging to me. But I didn't expect I was going to suffer that much. But well, it ended up to be really, really nice like this. So I was right. I liked Isaac very much when I saw the script and when I met him in person. So okay, I'll do it. That's my, what should I say? You say they're planning. I'm not having an ambitious thing for next year.
Yeah.
I'll just trust the people.
Interesting. Yeah.
But must be likable people. My standard.
Yes. Okay, so we're good. Our last few minutes are going to be questions, just a few quick questions from our viewers who have sent them in, and I'm reading them on within the app here. First person just said, "I have no questions. I just found this movie arose from the heart and touched me, pure and beautiful. Thank you." So that's always a good thing to hear. But let's go. First real question is from Mike Song, and he wanted to know, let's see, I'm going to summarize it. It's a bit long here. Questions for Yeri and Yuh-Jung. You both did an amazing job capturing the emotion, angst, and struggles of first-generation Korean Americans. Basically, you know, for you coming to America for this film, what was that like? Just actually being in America yourselves for the period that you were making this.
어디에 가든 혼자가 되면은 너무 외로울 거라고 생각이 했어요. 모니카가 굉장히 고립되어 있는 사람이고, 누군가를, 새로운 사람을 만나는 것도 어렵지만 일단 만나는 것도 되게 두려워하는 사람이기 때문에 더 힘들 거라고 생각했어요. 그게 이민자이건 이민자가 아니건 상관없이.
So I thought that wherever you go, if you are alone, you just feel lonely. And Monica is a character who's very isolated. It's hard to meet new people. And she's also someone who's very afraid to meet strangers. So I thought that that would be a struggle regardless of whether or not you are an immigrant.
이 모니카가 굉장히 외롭고 고독한 사람이고, 그렇기 때문에 더 가족들을 붙들고 이 끈을 놓지 않기 위해서 굉장히 꽉 잡고 있는 사람인 것 같았어요.
Because Monica is such a lonely character, I think that's why she holds on to her family more desperately. She doesn't want to let go of them, no matter what.
그래서 그렇게 잡고 있을 수 있는 힘은 사랑이라고 생각을 했고, 모니카는 이 사랑과 외로움과 고독의 이 감정들이 가장 많이 복합적으로 있는 사람이라고 생각이 들었어요.
And the strength that allows her to hold on to her family, it comes from love. I think that she's a complex mixture of love, loneliness, and solitude.
그래서 모니카가 사실은 그 시기 때 되게 한국의 많은 여성들도 그렇게 외롭고 고독했던 것 같아서 그런 부분들을 더 두드러지게 보여주고 싶었어요. 그래야지만 엄마가 왔을 때 이 모니카가 굉장히 활력이 넘치고 변하는 그런 모습들도 보여질 것 같았어요.
And I also thought that a lot of Korean women of those times and that generation felt the same kind of loneliness and solitude. And I also thought that I had to accentuate that part of this character so that you really see the changes that she goes through, the change in energy and liveliness when her mother comes to visit.
Mm-hmm. And Yuh-Jung, you had actually lived in America, right, for a few years?
Yes, for a while, but so I don't want to talk about living in America because then people think your English is terrible. But it's been long time, 75 till maybe I had 2 sons over there, mostly living in Florida. So it's this kind of story, kind of second-handed knowledge because there's a lot of friends. Immigrant at the time, and then they're very intelligent people but there's no job for the non-speaking English, so they have to just use their skill or something. So that felt really true.
Yeah. Well, that relates to the next question, which is from Tina Lerno, who would like to know from Yeri and Steven, what was it like working with the chicks? You really seemed to know what you were doing.
That was really fun. We had a crash course with chicken sexers, but what was actually, for me at least, really fascinating was my wife's parents also did that same work.
And so I asked them, and they told me technique, and you know, just to be able to access that kind of thing of just like the inside baseball of how to do it was really cool. And then you just practice. It was really fun.
For you, it's cool, but for them, it's suffering.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is true. This is true. This is true. This is true.
All intelligent.
Yes, this is true.
만지는데 너무 소프트해가지고 일단은 만지는 것 자체가 너무 무섭고 조금 조심을 하게 되는데 어쨌건 진짜 해야 된다라는 생각에 나중에는 좀 막대할 수밖에 없어서 좀 미안했어요.
So they were so fluffy when I touched them, and so at first I was kind of scared and really careful about even grabbing them, but I knew I just had to do it, so I became a little more reckless later on.
Well, the final question is from Mike, who would like to ask Steven and Isaac, you know, how much did you go back to your own parents for references and inspiration during the making of this, and did the movie has the movie brought you closer to your parents? Maybe Isaac, do you want to go first?
I definitely felt, I felt like I had to think a lot about my parents, for sure. I mean, that was part of the process, but not to do it in a way in which I'm putting them on a pedestal in some way, because I felt like I needed to see them as human beings and to really understand what they're going through, you know, wrestling with failure, wrestling with meaning, significance, all these things that I personally felt like I was wrestling with in my own life. So there was a lot of investment of my own personal feelings into these roles that I was writing. But yeah, it was remarkable showing it to my parents. It's been a year since I showed it to them. I still remember it was over Thanksgiving week that we decided we're going to have dinner first, and then I'll show them the movie so that we don't ruin dinner if they're angry with the movie. But it was such an emotional experience when we all watched it. As we were watching, I noticed that they were crying through a lot of it. That was the first thing. So I just knew, okay, they're crying, so that's got to, I'm touching on something that feels true. And then I noticed I was crying by the end of it with them. So there was just something in the air as we watched it together. And I felt like I was really able to embrace my dad in a way that I'd never embraced him after the film ended. And we didn't talk, we just hugged. And I got to say, I felt like our relationship has changed a great deal since that moment. This whole year has been very different. As we talk to each other, it's almost like we feel more free to talk to each other now. So I can't pinpoint what exactly it is, but I know that it's good to have done this and to have gone through the creative process, and then also to share the film together with him.
Yeah,
and my mom too.
Absolutely. And Steven, I just want to set this up for you to answer by noting that you watched the movie next to your dad in the middle of the Sundance Film Festival. So you didn't have the luxury of you know, having just a small group there while this emotional experience was happening. What was that night like for you?
I mean, it continues to be kind of taking its journey, I think, through just my understanding of that generation. Sitting next to my dad was really wonderful because, you know, as an immigrant, at least for me, I felt very severed from my parents as soon as we landed here. And it was only compounded over time that you lose a language, you lose emotionality, you lose maybe context in your surrounding for people to understand how to engage with each other. And so, you know, it kind of unlocked that door of really looking at like what your past was like and realizing that perhaps you didn't know your father or your mother as deeply as you thought you did. And, you know, the experience of playing Jacob was really resonant in the fact that I realized, you know, I am my father. I am of my father, and I am living a life that is, you know, there's so many points of connection that you can connect to him with. And I think what was really great about sitting next to him was at the end of it, as he was crying and I was crying because he was crying, and he looked at me in a way where it kind of said to me like, oh, I see that you see me. And that, you know, that feeling is, you can't really, I mean, you can't buy that feeling. That's like such an immersive, incredible blessing to have happened in my life. And so, you know, moving forward, we're still picking through past and understanding each other. But, you know, even beyond that, I think it's just generational healing and generational, you know, rebuilding of a bridge. And I think that's been really nice.
Well, thank you all for the beautiful work and for doing this. And Alan, good luck with the rest of the school year from home. I know it's a weird year, but we're rooting for you. And thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.